Dear learners, I welcome you to another session on research methodology for tourism and hospitality management. In the last session, we discussed about model designing and the scales which we use in quantitative research. Today, we are going to see some working examples and some interesting tips how to design or go ahead with a proposed study using quantitative research design. So, dear learners, once again understand the basic principles of quantitative research design. Normally, researchers use a theoretical background and the framework for the study that we call conceptual framework is borrowed from the theory, and this conceptual framework defines the variable, operational variables that we use the term. These operational variables are further grouped under constructs. These constructs further define the relationship, and our duty is to either approve or disapprove through the data, the theory, the particular theory that we are using in that context. So, this is about the analytical part of research that we call explanatory research. So, in the beginning, let us see the disciplinary nature of tourism research once again. When we study tourism management course, there are different subjects that you come across. One of that course is principles of management or human resource management, financial management, etc. So, why these courses are introduced in tourism and travel management or tourism and hospitality management? Because it's close affiliation with management subjects. Similarly, we also study geography or sociology or economics according to the design of your course curriculum. So, the first aspect is we have to fix which topic that we are going to work on. If it is a UG dissertation or PG dissertation, your work is comparatively easier. When it comes into PhD, then you have to be really careful. So, let me explain you one by one. So, under the discipline of management, there are various aspects coming up. I am taking one subdivision, that is human resource management, in which we study about employee motivation or employee satisfaction, employee retention. These all issues are related to human resource management. Let us take an example from hospitality industry. See, many students do BHM course, Bachelor of Hotel Management, or Master degree in Hotel Management. So, after completion of this course, many of them join hotels at different job profiles. So, now let us see the motivation level of employees joining hotels or broadly speaking hospitality industry. So, what matters in employee motivation? And once you complete 6 months of your experience or completing an year, employees are satisfied with the performance as well as the work environment. And if the employees stay back with the organization or they leave the organization, that we call employee retention. So, studying in detail, if you take in broadly, this falls under human resource management. So, it is better to identify a theoretical perspective from this area and then you carry out the study. And the second aspect which I am going to talk about on marketing. When we speak about marketing, brand plays a major role. When we think about brand management of a company, see, broadly it falls under tourism marketing or hospitality marketing. How companies maintain their brand image or what efforts they are putting in improving their brand image and how it is impacting the customer satisfaction levels too. So, when we seriously look into these topics, we can identify that many subtopics are emerging out of it. Another example here I want to quote is product positioning or pricing strategies. So, these all are falling under the broad area of marketing management. A recently discussed topic is customer delight. Let me share you my experience. When we use services, what extent we are satisfied with that? That is question number one. And in the second case, when we experience the service, inner satisfaction, we cannot explain it, that appears in the form of delight, a happiness, that is termed by researchers as customer delight. So, this term play a very important role, because if I am not happy with a particular service, certainly I will not have satisfaction. So, this dissatisfaction leads to losing a customer. We have to align an area with a broad discipline, and we can use that theoretical perspectives. Then few more examples I wish to quote here. Economic impacts of tourism or tourism trends, economic leakages. These terms are highly related with tourism economics. And do you know, in Western countries, tourism economics is a very important branch of tourism studies. If you are an expert in economics, you would be in a condition to define, examine the trends happening in a particular area in terms of economic growth or in terms of economic leakages as well. So, what do you understand by economic leakages? When we import things, hotels, resorts, hospitality service providers, they import materials. So, the money is going out of the country. There are in other forms too, the money will be going out of the country in terms of employee salary. Imagine we have so many pilots working in airlines, and these pilots are from foreign countries. So, airlines have to pay their salary, and this salary is like in the form of dollar or the amount of money which they spend that goes out of the country. So, this is also an example of economic leakages. So, we can connect tourism with economics, and you can conduct a study if you have interest in it. I explained you all these points because you might be in a stage of making your dissertation, and or you may be thinking to design your research proposal. So, align the subject with a broad area and use an appropriate theory. Now, let me also explain you how this theory will help you, because there are researchers who proposed theories. Example, stimulus organism response model or theory of planned behavior, theory of recent action. These are the theories widely used in tourism research. So, an undergraduate student may be thinking about what is a theory. Theory is a statement or two or three statements which defines some common meaning coming out of some concepts. So, some concepts club together and that give a meaning which is universally applicable. So, in tourism research, we use theory, then there is a scale that we use. Scale means the items ordered in a particular manner. So, similar items clubbed under one construct, and like that there would be several constructs. These constructs are defining some kind of relationship. So, scale indicates the number of items that we use for collecting the data. So, here the scale, is it necessary in quantitative research? I say yes. We use scales, and it is always advisable to adopt a scale which is already in use. And if you are not good in statistics, or if you are not having detailed knowledge of research methodology, it is always better to use a scale which is already used and you can use it in your context. So when we talk about a scale, it also has a problem of reliability, and the validity of the instrument matters here. So when we talk about reliability and validity, if we use a scale which is already proposed by some researcher, then your half of the problem is solved. And when you are talking about the results normally come almost in the same line. The theoretical model is proposed in many contexts, and in your context, if it is not coming up, there would be certainly valid reasons for that. And if you find any variation in your research and the previous researchers, then you have to cite why these variations are happening. That also could be a matter of great importance. So, existing scale that reduce your problems in many ways, but what about adding some new items or adding a new construct to an existing scale which I am talking about? Researchers make attempt to add new constructs. So, these constructs have to be tested before. The reliability and validity of this new construct have to be tested before you go ahead with your final data collection. So, this help you to avoid problems, otherwise your teacher or the supervisor may ask like how you added a new construct to an existing scale. Now, in a questionnaire you might see there are different type of questions coming. First part is demographic profile. We have already explained in detail. There are certain questions nature of dichotomous, that is yes or no, or some questions may be related to different levels, that is measuring the levels, or there would be statements that check the level of agreement, and we have also seen semantic scales. So, we use nominal scale, ordinal scale, then interval and ratio scale in quantitative research. Nominal scale, you might be aware that a name can indicate a nominal scale. Ordinal, you make it in a order level. Order means ranking. We can say 1, 2, 3 like that. And interval and ratio scale are widely used in statistical test, and this concerned with specific numbers. For example, the GDP growth rate 8%. So 8 is a discrete number, or you say daily temperature is 25.5 degree. So there is a decimal, that is again a discrete number. So these kind of numbers help us to conduct advanced statistical test, and this helps the researchers in a great way. So we have to understand which scale that we are using, and we have to design a scheme of analysis too. So for the knowledge of PhD scholars, I would like to mention here that in many scales we follow either 7-point or 9-point scales to make the precision, that means to get the exact insight of a respondent. For example, I ask you a question, you may answer it with yes or no. So how simple it is, right? Do you like the movie? Yes, I like the movie. Your answer ends there. But if I ask you a little more, now, what extent do you like the movie? Because of its the scenes, that the scenes may be like, it may be related to fighting scenes, or it may be related to romantic scenes, whatever it is. So you say like, no, somewhat I liked it. Then it goes further, 1 degree more. Do you agree that this movie is better than the movie of the previous director? Like, I disagree or I agree. So the level of agreement or the level of measurement increases from yes or no to it can go to 5, where there is a midpoint of 3, or it can go to 7, or it can go to 9. So advanced statistical techniques use the test that we use, which prefers a 7-degree scale or a 9-degree scale, so that we can get precise outputs out of the test. Dear students, the purpose of your study matters a lot. So one of the example here I have given is, if you compare two aspects, two variables of a phenomena, or if you compare multiple variables with a phenomena, it is completely applies to the aspect that you are covering and the purpose of your study. Or another example is causal relationship, that what change happens in a dependent variable if there is some change happens in independent variable. Then another purpose is predicting what will happen, a prediction that is related to model design. So the most important aspect of quantitative research here is identify your dependent variables, identify your independent variables clearly, so that your study would be giving you the desired outcomes. Dear students, we study tourism and hospitality. I have given an interesting example in front of you. So this example is speaking about daily temperature, that is in summertime, and the occupancy in hotels in 3 different cities. So we know that hotel occupancy depend upon tourist demand, and hill stations that features high tourism demand during summers, extreme summers. So look at this particular table and just have a glimpse upon the points which I have given. These are hypothetical in nature. This is not our original figures. But let us go through this example once again. So the observations are based upon, one is average day temperature in the month of May, tourist arrival per day which is capped with certain numbers, and the third observation is hotel occupancy. So now let us see, in Shimla you say average temperature is 18.5 and the hotel occupancy is 85%. Manali it is 16 and the hotel occupancy is around 78%. Take the example of Mussoorie. In Mussoorie the temperature is high comparatively and the hotel occupancy is comparatively low. So now the popularity of hill stations or tourism demand, hotel occupancy, the 3-4 aspects we can identify from this example, and you can create a chart which compares the how day temperature that matters in tourist arrivals to 3 different hill stations and what extent it impact the hotel occupancy. This is just an example which I am presenting in front of you. If you are living in any one of these cities or if you are living in a hill station, you can make a very easy study out of such example and your dissertation work would be much easier. Now, I have taken an example for the benefit of PhD scholars. I have taken 3 different areas here. One is destination image, and the second one is destination competitiveness, and the third aspect is place attachment. So people love to visit destinations because any one of these 3 areas, that a destination is having a very good reputation, good image, or that a destination is ranked as the top one in the last couple of years, or people they have an attachment or a kind of favorite destination for holidays. So if I wanted to assess what are the driving factors, which factor is strongly impacting the motivation, so here I use the term determinant. So the appropriate test is multiple regression. When we apply multiple regression, we can get the strength, means the dominating factor in this hypothesized relationship. Another example which I have used here is two groups of people. When we see adventure or religion, let us take the example of Chardham. Chardham Yatra is very popular in India, and this happens during the summers, that April onwards the temples are open to visitors, and it continues till November. So what happens, these places, whether it is Gangotri or Yamunotri, Kedarnath, Badrinath, these all places are located in high altitude. So do you believe all people are going with a purpose of religious interest? Maybe. But I take a off-road. Here there are some people who are going with the interest of adventure. So religious interest is one, and second is adventure spirit. So we can conduct a study what dominates, whether the group of people, under my observation, they are influenced with the location features that gives you enough scope for adventure, or the population which I am studying, they are more favoring about the religious interest. This is again a hypothetical example which I am quoting here. I wanted to give you some cautions too, because you might be now showing interest to conduct a statistical test or analysis, but make sure that when you apply certain techniques, statistical techniques, you also follow the assumptions. These assumptions are normality of data, or multicollinearity, or homoscedasticity. These assumptions have to be fulfilled before we conduct tests like regression or structural equation modeling. So I am not explaining here in detail about what is normality of data or multicollinearity. So when you enter into designing your questionnaire, or when you conduct the reliability test, you will have some idea about the data that you are fetching. And when the regression, when you do regression, linear regression or multiple regression, there would be some parameters to check the normality or multicollinearity of data. For example, Mahalanobis test in multiple regression. So this particular test give you an idea about normality of data. So without going into the details of the technical aspect, let me explain other topics too. One of the most important aspect is interpret the result step by step, and you should also know the values that we use called p-value, represented as significance, or different tests that we use like f-test or post hoc. So every statistical test follows certain procedures. So try to follow the procedures and interpret the result step by step. Then effect levels. Here again I am not explaining you effect level, because when you do hands-on experiment, you will come to know about the effect. There is low effect, there is medium effect, there is high effect in every test. Then finally interpreting the results. Dear learners, once again make sure that when you interpret the results, refer to statistical books or your senior teachers whether your interpretation is going in the right direction. I give you 2-3 examples. I hope these examples are interesting for you. We always see during the holidays, especially the festival time, airfare shoots up. And can you conduct a study to understand whether the last minute booking, when you book a flight ticket one day before your departure or maybe on the same day of your departure, what extent the airfare varies? I have given an example here. The sector is Kolkata and Delhi. You want to go from Delhi to Kolkata, and I am taking 5 different festivals here. It could be Durga Puja to Diwali, Holi, Eid or Christmas. Take example two airlines which we use, Indigo. Indigo is a low cost carrier, Vistara is a full service carrier. So now, what is your task? You record the airfare one day before the actual day of celebration and also record the airfare of a normal day. So, if you analyze these variations, we can very easily understand what extent the fare varies, and that is in multiple dimensions we can get the information from this study. One dimension I say, low cost carrier like Indigo, what extent the fare varies when a passenger book a last minute flight on a normal day, and what extent it matters or the variation happens during the time of festivals like Durga Puja, Diwali or Holi. So, one way, easy way is to identify the mean and standard deviation. But when you do further test, it can give you more precise information. Another example I would like to give you here is, we all wear digital devices. So here I am quoting fitness digital devices. The number of steps that you walk or your heartbeat, your hours of sleeping, people nowadays use it regularly. So you can conduct a study among your friend circle. So use a particular scale which I recommend here is technology adoption. This is a model proposed earlier. It is called technology adoption model, TAM. If you use this particular model and if you conduct a study, very easily you can understand what extent people are adopting these digital devices which is meant for physical fitness. I give this example to all PhD scholars. You can conduct the study in your society, because in big societies there would be thousands of people living, or you can conduct the study in the college too. When you follow this particular model, design the questionnaire, you do the analysis properly, you will get a very good result, so that you can start experimenting the quantitative research in this way. Dear learners, let us come to the conclusion. You have seen some examples. I started with the topic that the prerequisites for conducting a quantitative research, and we have seen aligning your discipline with a broad area, that is maybe management or marketing or social science, other disciplines, etc. Borrowing a theory, using a theoretical model and adopting appropriate scale, then conducting the study in a meticulous way give you very good results. And I have given you at the end some working examples. Hope you got an idea about quantitative researches. So start small studies at undergraduate level where you can understand the basics, and for the PhD scholars, now it is the time for you to think about your research papers by using appropriate theoretical models and conducting the statistical analysis for getting the correct results. So with this we conclude this module here. If you have any doubts, please come back to me. Thank you.